So I'm going to be making a list of, or I have a list actually, of 50 characters that I think are worse than Chris Thorndyke because I feel like the character gets a lot of hate. I feel like he's not the worst Sonic character ever or anything. I'm not saying he's the best either, but I actually think Chris is kind of well written for a character like him. And I will probably do a separate video where I would do a character analysis on Chris Thorndyke, since there's not like a lot of videos on him that are at least, going to talk about it, or not a lot of people are going to, yeah, there's like a lot of hate for the character. So, of course, you're going to expect a lot of negativity and whatnot, but not from these videos. So, anyways, and I'm doing this because I'm actually rewatching Sonic X, but this time I'm actually watching the sub version for the first time. So, that's kind of new. So, yeah, but let's get into it. So, I'm going to name 50 characters, and if this video gets too long, I will kind of break it down into two parts. But for now, I'm going to just like list off the first 50. If I get to 25 and think it's too long, then I'll probably cut it short and then make a separate video. Okay, so starting at number 50, we have Styx the Badger. Yep, we're getting off there. So, as you already know, Styx is a character from Sonic Boom. She's, honestly, I don't think Styx is a bad character, which is why I put her so high up on this list, or put her in the number 50 placement, because she's not a bad character. I actually think she's a decent character. I actually like her. And I would love to see her in the transition to modern games because I think she could have some potential in the games. You never know. But compared to Chris Thorndyke, I think Chris has a better character arc. I think he has better development, better characterization, more so than Styx. So that's why I'm putting Chris above Styx in terms of characterization, and why I just don't think she's as good as him. Next up, we have Big the Cat. Now, Big the Cat is also one of the main series. Is a main series character. Big isn't necessarily bad, but he's supposed to be like the big oaf type of character. He likes to fish. He likes frogs, etc. Sticks, I mean not Sticks. Big isn't much of a bad character in my opinion, but he doesn't really have too much characterization, unlike Chris, who actually does go through some development, who does actually have some characterization. And yeah, so I don't think, yeah, so I think Chris is honestly a better character than Big. And if you disagree with me, you can probably just debate me in the comments, or you can tell me, explain, like, ask me why, like, explain like why you think Big is better or Sticks. But trust me, these characters, I don't even think anybody can refute on whether or not that they're worse than Chris. Okay. So next up we have Storm the Albatross. Yeah, we're going there. Storm the Albatross, as you know, is a he's one of the Babylon Rogues. He's the meathead of the team, and he's a part of he's in usually in Sonic Riders. He's one of the most strongest characters in the series, rival to Knuckles, etc. Now Storm, yeah, like I said, there's not really nothing much to his character besides him being the meathead of the group and whatnot. And I don't think he gets as nearly as much characterization as Chris, because Chris, like in the beginning, and I'm going to keep sounding repetitive every time I'm going to say Chris has a character arc and he has character development, but let me break it down for you. So basically, throughout season 1 and 2, Chris, as you know, is a 12-year-old kid who idolizes and looks up to Sonic and his friends, right? And pretty much throughout the entire season 1 and season 2, he pretty much grows and develops as a character more from watching Sonic and his friends in action. Like they all go on adventures together, etc. and whatnot. It helps him break out of his little shell because Chris, as you know, he's a rich kid. His parents, they have a lot of money. They have jobs and stuff, like really high profile jobs. So they're not really able to spend too much time with Chris. So Chris has always felt a little lonesome without his parents around. I mean, even though, yes, he has his grandpa, yes, he has his housekeepers, and yes, he also has his friends like Danny, Francis, and Helen. However, Chris, it's just things felt different when Sonic and his friends came along, because that way they helped him break out of his shell and become much more of a more stronger, confident character with a clear purpose. And as you can see in season 3, Chris has became a lot smarter. He literally built a device that can literally travel to other dimensions and stuff. That's pretty big. When he was 18, he what else? And also he ended up making up and having a better relationship with his parents than he was when he was like 12, right? So yeah, so that's Chris's character. And yes, I think that characterization alone is better than most of the people that I'm going to name here on this list. So if I sound repetitive, forgive me, but that's what I think about Chris's character. going on. Number 47, we have Fiona the Fox. Now, I know Fiona the Fox is also another one of the most hated Sonic characters in the entire series, and rightfully so. I do not like Fiona too much. However, I kind of have an appreciation for what Ian Flynn did with her character. Yeah, I know what she did. Like, she broke Tails' heart, she cheated on Sonic, and she ended up going out with Scourge and whatnot. Those are like some of the big character highlights for her character. But honestly, though, I think that was probably a better direction because it made her character a lot more memorable. Like, wow, like yeah, like as much as again, I don't want the Sonic series to be depicted like this weird love triangle drama stuff or whatever consecutively, but I do actually like Fiona with like when she's paired up with Scourge. They kind of make an interesting kind of power type of couple and whatnot, which yeah, I do appreciate. And if Scourge comes back, I would actually like to see Fiona because the relationship felt kind of interesting. And you can probably read Sonic Universe to go like see what that was like because I think yeah, Fiona was definitely uplifting Scourge and whatnot, helping him regain his confidence and whatnot and break out of the prison and form the Destructix again. So yeah, that was pretty awesome. So, but Fiona though, compared to Chris, I don't think Fiona's as good as a character as Chris. She's clearly unlikable. She is a total bitch, a sellout to her own people. So yeah, so what makes you think that Fiona's a better of a character than Chris, right? Moving on. Next up, we have Ari the Ram. Now, if you don't know who this character is, you might have to watch Sonic SatEM. But Ari is this character from Sonic SatEM. He he's a part of his own Freedom Fighters group. He has his own Freedom Fighters group, not outside of Sally's group, where he's rebelling against Dr. Eggman as well. But his team got captured pretty much, and then he had to lead Sonic into a bunch of traps and whatnot, and almost get him killed or send him to this like to the, not the zone of silence, but to the void and whatnot, where he would have been trapped there forever if it wasn't yeah if Ari didn't betray Dr. Eggman at the last minute. But yeah, so honestly, yeah, I think Chris clearly has better characterization than Ari, and I think Ari is honestly a forgettable character unless you're a fan of Sonic SatEM, that is. But outside of that, I wouldn't even remember this character if I didn't go back and rewatch Sonic SatEM. If I'm going to be honest. All right, so next up we got Nick the Weasel. Now, Nick the Weasel, I'm going to keep this brief. Basically, if you don't know who this character is, she's basically the femme version of Knack the Weasel, or to put it in a better word, she's the twin sister of Knack. And pretty much she doesn't really have her own personality and character outside of her brother and whatnot, so she's kind of in his shadow. So, yeah, and this is around the time in Archie where they had characters who were like basically just, I don't know, just knockoffs of the original characters. Like, for example, like definitely the Echidna characters. They all look like Knuckles and whatnot, pretty much. But yeah. All right, next up we have Antoine Depardieu. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, well, how is it like, yeah, you're probably wondering how is Chris a better character than Antoine? Now, I'm only talking about Antoine Depardieu from Sonic SatEM. If I'm comparing Chris to Antoine Decolette, then I think, yes, I do actually think that, what's his face? Antoine Decolette is a better character than Chris Thorndyke, given the Archie Comics' run. But in the SatEM show, Antoine, I don't think was portrayed very well there, or that was his first portrayal. In Sonic SatEM, Antoine was always made the butt of the joke. He would screw things up a lot, get himself into trouble, always had this jealousy for Sonic and whatnot, and this crush on Sally, which again, not really bad, but he'd always talk tough, but then he's always like cowardly and he would get all scared. And I'm like, man, I wish Antoine had his moment or two. I mean, he has some moments, like when he was fighting against the little cannibals or whatever, but that's about it. He never really had his like chance to shine, like in the series. So that's just my opinion. So Antoine Depardieu is not as good as a character as Chris. Next up, we got Tundra the Walrus. Tundra. Now, if you don't know who Tundra is, basically Tundra is this character from the Archie comics. He's from the reboot version. He's actually the dad of Rotor the Walrus. Rotor, pretty much. Tundra is Rotor's abusive dad. He drove his son away from home and whatnot. I think he has a cool design. I think he makes he makes an interesting villain. But yeah, nah. Tundra, he's a fucking terrible dad. He fucking abuses Rotor, like I just said. So I don't see how Chris is worse than Tundra. Like, what has Chris done exactly? And I'll get into that in a second. But what has Chris done and whatnot that puts him above an abusive dad? I didn't think so. Next up, we have Princess Elise III. Now, I don't have anything against Princess Elise. I think Elise, well, I feel like she's a very underrated. I can't say good, but I would say she's a bit of an underrated character in Sonic 06. Like, mostly in Sonic 06, she was always treated like the Princess Peach, where she was constantly getting captured by Dr. Eggman constantly, which was annoying. But like, yeah, like I swear to God, probably like 5 or 6 times she was captured. I could be exaggerating, but it might actually be 5. She always kept getting captured, and as soon as Sonic rescues her, she gets captured again. It was crazy. But I do think Elise does have some decent characterization when you really think about it. Like she's basically this princess or queen of Solviana, and she has to like she's very selfless and she's committed to her people and all that stuff, and she has to watch over her kingdom and yet yeah, and then Sonic helps break her free of that. He just helps her become a lot more free spirited and more just enthusiastic and stuff. But I feel like Elise's development and whatnot, and the way how she was written inside that game was just very underwritten and whatnot. And that's my problem with Elise. So I would say that Chris does have better development and is portrayed better than Elise is, and that's just my personal opinion. Next up, we got Princess Sarah. Now, if you don't know who Princess Sarah is a lesser known character from the Sonic OVA. I think she has a mixed reception where there are people who do like her and then people who don't like her. Like there are people who find her cute or hot, because she's a cat girl and all that. But yeah, but honestly, I don't think she has really any personality that really stands out from the rest. Like she's basically, oh well, this cute princess girl. She likes Sonic, gets along with his friends. Dr. Eggman tried to seduce her. She was like, "No, sir." She was like, "No, sir. I'm good," etc. So, yes, I do think Chris is a better character than even Sarah. Next up, we got Sonic Man. I think this is one of our first parody characters we have on here. And Sonic Man, yes, I do think Chris is a better character than Sonic Man. Sonic Man is a parody of basically Sonic. He's basically like a human who pretty much tries to cosplay as Sonic and stuff, and basically you can race him in the mission mode. He doesn't have too much character, but yeah, I honestly think Chris is better written and better handled than him. So yeah. Next up, we have Grimer. Grimer is one of Eggman's loyal followers. He's basically he's a very deformed and hideous looking man and whatnot. He's from the Fleetway comics and stuff, but honestly, I don't see how he could be a better character than Chris, in my personal opinion. So yes, I will put Chris above Grimer. Next up, we have Catella. So now we have our first character from Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, if you don't know who Catella is basically this intergalactic bounty hunter. I'm not even sure if I'm saying her name right, but I'm pronouncing it Catella. She's an intergalactic bounty hunter from another world that Dr. Eggman had ended up hiring to either, I think, kill or capture Sonic. And then I think she ended up thinking that she succeeded. So after thinking that she completed her mission of either killing or capturing Sonic, I don't remember which, basically she tried to marry Dr. Eggman and whatnot. And basically she ended up getting driven away by Dr. Eggman's mom, which was crazy. But yeah, but Catella, I think she has a lot of potential as a character, but again, she doesn't have any character development. No, yeah, she doesn't have any character development. None of that whatsoever. I don't think she's as good as a character as Chris. Therefore, she makes this list. And this isn't supposed to be a worst characters list, although most of these characters on this list will eventually be like, okay, I don't like any of these characters. But some of them I actually do think are decent. Some of them I think are all right. But then some of them are just either annoying or I just straight up hate these guys with a passion. So, Catella. Next up, we got Robotnik Jr. Again, if you watch Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, you'll know who this is. Robotnik Jr. was basically created by Dr. Eggman to be a son to him, but eventually he ended up betraying Dr. Eggman and whatnot after becoming friends with Sonic and ended up going out with Breezy the Hedgehog. Robotnik Jr. does get some kind of interesting characterization and some good character development, but again, I don't think it's on the same level as Chris. And I don't even think he's as memorable as Chris either. Same could be said about Catella and Grimer. So, yeah. So he makes his list. Next up, we got Ben Muskie. So if you don't know who Muskie is, if you watch Sonic Side EM or if you read the Archie comics, you would know. Or you might have some idea. But Muskie is basically the pet dog of Sonic and whatnot. Pretty much, what about Muskie? Muskie was roboticized by Dr. Eggman at one point, and then later on he was no longer roboticized in the Archie comics, and then later on, when the reboot happened, Muskie gets turned into a Mobian, where he's basically the assistant of Uncle Chuck, who's very enthusiastic and happy and whatnot. But yeah, but the reason why Muskie makes this list is because he doesn't really have too much characterization, and he's not as memorable as like again with Chris. Next up, we have Tommy the Turtle, another forgettable character unless you read the Archie comics. But Tommy is basically like supposed to be like his story was supposed to be a spoof off of the tortoise and the hare, but instead of there being a hare, it was actually replaced with a hedgehog, and that hedgehog being Sonic. So basically, Tommy ended up racing Sonic into a race one time, like he ended up challenging him to a race, I guess, or something. And somehow he ended up beating Sonic in that race because he took his time and he was slow and cautious, whereas Sonic wasn't. So yeah, so Tommy the Turtle. Tragically enough, though, the character was killed off in the pre-Genesis wave of the Archie comics. So yeah. Next up, we got Trey Scales. So Trey Scales is another character from the Archie comics, and he was actually a part of the original Freedom Fighters, the first Freedom Fighters team, and the Archie comics, which inspired Sonic and his friends to take up the name and the mantle. So Trey Scales basically is the snake Mobian who ended up betraying his own friends to Dr. Eggman, pretty much, and ended up getting his friends and including himself roboticized because it's Dr. Eggman people. He's not much of a man of his word. But yeah, that's what he did. Betrayed them. Yeah, so if you honestly think that Chris is a worse character than, I don't know, Trey Scales, or he's just as bad, I don't know I don't know how you can make that comparison. Trey Scales, this dude literally betrayed his own friends, sold them out. Basically, this man pulled a whole mimic on them, or Orlando, pretty much, right? Right. So yeah, I know it's a bad guy kind of thing, but again, Chris, better character than this guy, has way much more development, characterization, etc. Is really fleshed out more so than that. So yes, Chris is by far a better character. Next up, we got some more Sonic Boom characters. We got T.W. Barker. Now, if you don't know who T.W. Barker is, he's basically this ringmaster in Sonic Boom and a con man. Yes, I honestly think Chris is a better character than this guy. He's not even necessary to the story. He's just there, I guess, in some episodes, or he's just a background character. Same can be said about Comedy Chimp and DB Platypus. These characters are not essential. They're just there in the background or just for jokes, but that's about it. Next up, we got Zon. So if you don't know who Zon is this dragon character who's very forgettable. But if you read the Archie comics, he's basically abused Dulcie. At one point, he was Dulcie's, like, I guess, mate or something, or boyfriend that she ended up living with because of her, I guess, dragon traditions or whatever. It was one of her customs to her people. So she had to be with Zon, even though she was not in love with him. So this dude, like I said, beat Dulcie and treat her like garbage. So obviously, this abuser would end up on my list. Like, come on, Chris. You can say a lot of things about him, but he's not. He's no abuser. He never took advantage of people like that or anything like that. So yes, Zon is on my list. Next up, we got Jerome, the President's Aide. So this is another minor character, and he's from Sonic X. Basically, he's the guy from that episode where he was trying to shake, or he was trying to get the president to shake Sonic's hand in order to boost the president's political career and whatnot. And then eventually, he wanted to start his own political career by shaking Sonic's hand, but he ended up getting into some trouble with Dr. Eggman, and then he ended up homeless, and then I think somehow he might have ended up in prison as well. So yeah, but he's mostly just comic relief. He's not anything. He's not important or anything to the story, which is fine. So, but yeah, obviously Chris is a way much more better character than Jerome, the President's Aide. All right. So next up on my list we have the Marxio brothers, or the Mario brothers. Let me stop. It's not the Mario brothers, but it's a parody of the Mario brothers called the Marxio brothers or something like that. These guys are basically, like I said, a parody of the Mario brothers in the Fleetway comics and whatnot. I think they're a bunch of like criminals or something. They're villains of like Sonic from that version. Obviously, I think Chris is definitely a much more memorable character and definitely better handled than these guys. So yeah. Next up, we have Steve Eggman. So if you remember Steve Eggman, he's from Sonic Boom. He basically is the one Eggman robot from another dimension who has the ability to shapeshift into whoever. So yeah, that's what he has the ability to do. Steve Eggman, obviously, he's I guess supposed to have this like surfer dude kind of persona or something, but honestly, I don't think he's better than Chris in terms of the character. So yeah, obviously he's going to be on this list. Next up, we got Colin Koerner Sr. So if you don't know who Colin Koerner Sr. is, let me tell you. So in the Archie comics, Eggman's real name is, I believe it was, what was it, Julian Koerner? Yeah, it was Julian Koerner. That was Eggman's real name. But he had a brother named Colin Koerner. Yeah, he had a brother named Colin Koerner, right? And yeah, Colin Koerner Sr. Because Eggman has a nephew named Snively, and Snively, he has well, obviously Snively has parents, so yeah. But Colin is Snively's dad, pretty much, and his name is Colin Koerner Sr., which will make Snively Jr. So, anyways, Colin, he's a bit of a racist, and I think he's like a minister or something, back from the Overlanders, which is basically the human term inside the Archie comics and whatnot. But yeah, that's Colin. I already said the dude's racist and prejudiced against other Mobians and whatnot, given their history of not getting along. So yeah, obviously I'll put him on this list. He's not really much of a he's a bit of a naive type of parent, so he just didn't know how to handle Snively and whatnot. So yeah, like I said, I think I put him on this list. He just couldn't really pull it off. All right, so next up, this is going to be a big one. Like, I know some of the characters that I've named before were either parodies or whatever, but this is going to be a big one. Shadow the Hedgehog. I think Chris Thorndyke is a better character than Shadow the Hedgehog. Now, let me, like, yeah, I know. I'm probably, yeah, you think I'm pulling your leg, but I'm not kidding. I'm actually talking about Boom Shadow. Shadow from Sonic Boom, I think, is a worse character than Chris Thorndyke. Now, Chris Thorndyke, I don't think he's a bad character at all, like I said, but Boom Shadow is terrible. He is a bad portrayal of Shadow from like just anything in general. Like Shadow, he does not act anything like he does inside Sonic Boom. Like Sonic Boom, completely different character. He's a total idiot in there. And let me just go on a little brief rant of why I think he's an idiot. So basically, Shadow and Sonic Boom. Now, in those episodes he does appear in, like the season 1 finale, I thought that was pretty awesome. And like when he shows up, you gotta expect that there's gonna be a fight to pop off, and it's gonna be a good ass fight. It's gonna be like, oh, action and whatnot, and I love it. Right? It's pretty awesome. However, Boom Shadow is an idiot. Like he's an idiot. Like, no, I'm not even kidding. He really is. Like, remember in the season 2 finale why like he almost tried to destroy the entire universe because pretty much he was mad that Eggman had ended up tricking him? Like, what? And this might actually be like the problem with Shadow, because a lot of people who see Shadow, like, or how he's written nowadays inside the games, because, well, he's not written to be this bad, but he's written to be like the edgelord, to be just the, like, I don't know, the anti-Sonic and whatnot, when Shadow is so much more than just being an anti-version of Sonic. But yeah, but I'll talk about that maybe some other time. But Shadow from Sonic Boom, terrible character, terrible portrayal of Shadow. Yes, he ends up on my list. He's that bad. And if you think otherwise, you can probably talk about it with me in the comments section. But yeah, Boom Shadow, worse than Chris Thorndyke. Believe it or not. Next up, yeah, because I don't think Chris would just go as far. Sure, Chris will probably take Sonic and whatnot away when they're sending him back to his world and just keep him all to himself. Yeah, you can make that argument, but literally Boom Shadow tried to literally destroy the entire universe because he was simply tricked by Eggman into fighting Sonic. Yeah, isn't that dumb? Next up, we got Anton. Now, if you don't know who Anton is basically this character from the Sonic manga and stuff. He was the secondary antagonist to Sonic and whatnot, where he would always try to he would always try to either kidnap Amy or always try to force himself on her. I don't know, take that context, whatever you will, go read the manga. It's on the internet. However, Anton, he was always like Nikki, or Nikki is the alternate version of Sonic in this version. He was always Nikki's bully and whatnot, and he would always like just take whatever he wants, because he felt like he was that entitled. Clearly, Chris is not like that. Chris is a much more likable character than this guy, and obviously he ends up on this list. So that's Anton. And next up, we got Sleet and Dingo. Now, if you don't know who Sleet and Dingo is, Sleet and Dingo are basically these two sidekick characters from Sonic Underground who basically try to like pursue Sonya, Manic, and Sonic, Sonya, and Manic across the entire world because they were mercenaries and they were hired by Dr. Eggman to capture them. Now, Sleet and Dingo, they have really ugly, bad designs and whatnot. And on top of that, pretty much, yeah, not only did they have ugly, bad designs and stuff as well, but they were also like just, I don't know, pointless. Like they're not really memorable characters. They have bad characterization. They're basically like, I guess like just, they're very generic, if I were to say. So yes, I do think that Chris is better than them. He doesn't have a generic personality. Sure, his parents don't spend a whole lot of time with him, and that could be seen as a generic story. But at least he has a lot more character development and characterization more so than these guys. So yes, I would put Chris above even Sleet and Dingo. Next up, we got Mombot. I mean, Mombot is a basic character from Sonic Boom. She's supposed to be the kind of surrogate mom figure to Dr. Eggman and whatnot that he built to try and take care of him and whatnot. But honestly, I don't think Mombot's a better character than Chris. She's kind of a forgettable character and whatnot. What more can I say? And speaking about moms, next up we got Mama Robotnik. Now, if you really watch Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, you know who this character is, Mama Robotnik. Now, Mama Robotnik is basically just this femme version of Dr. Eggman, who's his mom in this version. She is very ugly. Sometimes she will have a mustache. Sometimes she wouldn't. I guess it was maybe a design problem and stuff that they will forget to put the mustache on her just to make her look more like Dr. Eggman, or they'll just take it away. I don't know. But anyways, Mom Robotnik, yes, she would end up on this list. She's very ugly. She's very disgusting. Yeah, and honestly, I guess she's supposed to be like this mean-spirited mom kind of character to Dr. Eggman and whatnot, who always like shits on her son. So yes, Chris is by far a better character than Mama Robotnik. And I want you to tell me otherwise if you think otherwise. Like, please, let's keep it like interactive. All right, so now we covered. Now we're up to number 20. All right, our number 20 placement is Rebecca. Now, Rebecca is another minor character from Sonic SatAM. She's basically this ugly-looking robot character and whatnot, who basically had these who ended up catching feelings for both Sonic and Antoine and whatnot, and basically tried to like kidnap Antoine or whatever, and just, I don't know, pamper him and all that other stuff. It was weird, but yeah. I'm pretty sure a lot of SatAM fans do not like that episode, and Rebecca therefore ends up on my list because she's not a good character at all. Very pointless, very dumb, just made for laughs. So obviously Chris is easily a better character than her. Like, what more can I say? Next up, we got another parody character. We got Justin Bieber, and I'm not talking about the singer, or in this version he is a singer, but we have Justin Bieber. From Sonic Boom, another kind of character who basically tried to hypnotize all the girls inside Hedgehog Village or Bygone Village, whatever you want to call it, and whatever, until like Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, I think, end up stopping him. So it was an interesting episode, I'll give you that. But yeah, obviously this dude is not a better character than Chris, so come on. Like, yeah, he's not a better character than Chris. All right, next up we got Hershey the cat. If you don't know who Hershey the cat is, Hershey is basically another character from the Archie comics and stuff. She's the wife of Geoffrey St. John and one of his former students, proteges, and she's also a soldier. Now, Hershey, I don't really think she has too much characterization outside of, I guess, her relationship with Geoffrey. She's kind of more of like, I guess, a soldier rookie type, I suppose. She first, I think, appeared in the Princess Sally miniseries, I think. But yeah, so anyways, she's not really a bad character at all. At least I don't think she is. But